everybody, welcome back to another video. I am currently filming outside on my balcony, so hopefully you guys can hear me because it's not very quiet in the city. It is such a nice day out today, and I've been itching to clean our balcony for such a long time and maybe get a few things planted outside, so that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm not going to talk for too long because I have a feeling the audio is going to be super crappy on this video, so without further ado, let's get into it. So this is what our balcony looks like right now, and as you can see it's quite barren just because we obviously hadn't done anything with it over the winter, so I'm looking forward to sprucing it up quite a bit. Before we get into the makeover, I'm going to walk you through what's on our balcony right now. This very sad looking thing is a blueberry bush. We bought one last year thinking maybe we could try and grow it in a large container, and it actually did grow quite a bit because this is what it looked like before and this is what it looks like now. I actually pruned a bunch of it back so it was even bigger than this before. But unfortunately it doesn't show any signs of coming back to life. There aren't any new buds forming on any of the branches, and I thought maybe this was one, but unfortunately it's just super dried up. One way you can check to see if a shrub or a tree that you have is still alive is if you just gently scratch the bark a little bit, and as you can see here, there's no green on the inside, but if you do see green on the inside, then it means that your plant is still alive, but it doesn't really look like this one is. So, funny story about these green onions, we actually bought them last year, and as you can see, I didn't really clean them out when they perished over the winter, but I guess it's actually a good thing because now I have all these beautiful green onions growing back. Usually anything that has a bulb is pretty good over the winter, and thankfully we had a more mild winter in Toronto, so I think that along with the combination of these husk-like things acting as insulation, it means we have new green onions. So here we have all the various containers I grow stuff in. These are your basic window planters, and they're more meant for annual flowers or things that don't require their roots to go super deep. Usually we grow our peppers and tomatoes in these, and they still grow to be a decent size, but they don't grow to be the size that they could potentially be just because it is quite shallow, and oh my god, I didn't even realize these were here until now. As I was saying, the plants themselves don't actually grow to be as big as they would if you were to plant them in the ground, and that's just because if the roots are compact, then it'll affect how much your plant can actually grow. But we still get a good amount of peppers and tomatoes, they're just not as big as they could be. Over here we have this pot which has chalk paint on it, so usually I'll put some herbs in here and add some little doodles onto it. This is a hanging basket which I've never actually used, and I think I've had it for maybe like 2 or 3 years, so maybe I'll finally do something with it. This is just a big random pot that our lemon tree used to be in, but unfortunately it died, and as you can see it matches the pot that the blueberry bush is in, which also died, so maybe these pots are just cursed and I shouldn't use them. To start, I want to get rid of the dead blueberry bush, so I'm cutting off the branches just to make it easier to put down our compost chute in our building, and I know it looks a little barbaric with me using scissors because typically you would use a pair of pruners whenever you're trimming back branches, but since the bush is dead, it doesn't really matter. Next, I want to tackle the dusty shelves and chairs. We're living next to a construction site, so things get quite dusty very quickly. I'm just using a microfiber cloth and some water to clean those things, and this is what the water looks like after doing just the shelves and the chairs. So gross, right? While I'm at it, I'm also going to wipe down the walls and ledges on our balcony because those things are even worse than the chairs. I'm using a Swiffer to help me reach the high up spots, but I'm not actually using the Swiffer pads that you're supposed to put on them because those things are super wasteful. So again, I'm just using a microfiber cloth and some new water. Now onto something more exciting. I'm going to start prepping a few of my vegetable containers. When I initially recorded this video, the temperatures were around 8 to 10 degrees overnight, so I wanted to stick to just planting my cold-tolerant crops, which include spinach, Swiss chard, sugar snap peas, green onions, and rat-tail radishes. I'm starting off with my spinach, and I germinated it in 2 batches, so some of the seedlings are a little bit bigger than the rest. If you grow your seedlings in a cardboard egg carton, you can plant the entire cup into the soil and it will break down into compost, but as you can see here, I'm removing some of the excess cup, mainly just because I'm putting them into a container, and it can kind of become a little bulky, so I'm just going to toss the excess chunks into the compost. If you do this, just be very careful not to rip any of the roots. I'm also going to be using some toothpicks to help me prop up some of the seedlings, just because once they start growing leaves, they can become a little top heavy, and I want to encourage strong stem growth. Next, I'm planting my 2 bell pepper plants. Most pepper plants prefer overnight temperatures of 13 to 15 degrees, but I still wanted to get them planted so their roots can start to grow a little deeper. I ended up keeping them inside for a couple days until the temperatures were more consistent. After that, I'm planting the rat-tail radishes. These guys can grow into massive plants, so I might have to move them into their own individual containers once they've grown a little bit more, but since they're still quite small, I'm sure they won't mind sharing the space for now. It's also my first time growing them, so who knows, maybe they'll do just fine in the container that they're currently in. Next, I'm planting Swiss chard. A fun fact about Swiss chard is that the little bumpy things that you get in your seed packet are actually pods and they contain multiple seeds. It might be kind of hard to see here, but one of my seedlings actually has 2 plants within it, so usually you get more than you bargain for. I ended up propping up the seedlings with toothpicks later on because just like the spinach, the seedlings can become a little top heavy once they start spreading leaves. Also, another fun fact about all seedlings is that the first leaves you see whenever a plant germinates are called cotyledons. They're part of the seed's embryo and provide nutrients to the seedling until its true leaves begin to unfurl and begin the process of photosynthesis. So that's why those first leaves usually look a little different than the rest of your plant. Up next, I'm planting my 2 little green onions. Like I mentioned earlier, be really careful if you're pulling off any excess carton because as you can see, oh no, the entire seedling fell out. Thankfully, the roots were okay, and it also ended up happening to my second green onion too, most likely because these things are so tiny and fragile, but nonetheless, the plants are all good. Next, I'm planting my cherry tomatoes, and just like peppers, tomato plants prefer overnight temperatures of around 13 to 15 degrees. I also just wanted them to start developing more roots, and I also ended up keeping them inside until the temperatures were a little warmer overnight. I will likely move at least one other plant into another container as they get bigger because tomato plants like a lot of space, and I definitely want to get as many tomatoes as I can. It's funny because I actually don't like tomatoes, but I do enjoy making my own ketchup or using them to make a rosé pasta sauce. But you definitely won't catch me eating a plain tomato. Alright, now everyone is planted and already the balcony is looking so much better. I want to take it even further and add some decor because aside from the chairs and the little mini table, I haven't really made it into a space that's enjoyable to sit out on. I'm going to be using these string lights that someone in our building gave me for free. I also have this cute little candle holder and a simple rug. I didn't film me putting up the lights because I would be revealing too much of my neighborhood, and obviously I do not want strangers on the internet knowing where I live. But here's a time lapse of me setting up the rug and candle holder. I also ended up adding some simple cushions just to make the chairs more comfy to sit on. And there you have it, our brand new balcony. I know it's nothing crazy, but I wanted to use items that I already had in my home just because I'm trying not to buy new stuff this year, and also with the pandemic, I want to stay home as much as possible. I still think it turned out super cute, and I'm looking forward to spending more time out here. Thanks so much for watching, like and subscribe, I'll see you later. Bye!